But that's really the question, I think, as we head into the new season and this changes that are coming, probably not going to happen for 2026, but what a newfangled PGA Tour might look like in 2027 will be a continued discussion of elevated events in a constricted schedule. Will we hear the voices of the 100th ranked players and the 75th players in the world? Will they have a place to play and really a place to thrive and earn a living?
Well, it's not a voice Brian Rolapp's going to hear this week. I mean, it's a very small constituency of players. It's a 20-man field in the Bahamas, and these are not 20 players who are probably going to be adversely impacted by any changes or a shrinking of playing opportunities. But it does speak to how seriously Rolapp and the Tour are taking this idea of trying to keep players updated. They may not have specifics in a granular sense of what's going to change, but they're clearly making an effort to make the players feel as though they're being kept up to date on what can be revealed at this stage, because I think they're trying to head off any kind of idea of blindsiding players or presenting them with a fait accompli and to get their investment in what's going to happen out there. He's not going to be confronted with the guy who's going to lose opportunities.
That's the meeting I want to hear. That's the news I want to come out from.
And that's going to be a lot tougher conversations for Brian Rolapp and his team to actually have when that comes. And, you know, we're going to hear from players today who will talk about the importance that the changes need to be made. You know, I hear a lot of people talking, Damon, about what needs to be fixed at the Tour. We're going to fix it by doing this. We're going to fix it by doing that. I've yet to hear anyone, including Brian Rolapp, articulate how it's broken. That's the key here. What's wrong with it that requires all of this conversation about a radical fix, and how radical does that fix need to be?
Yeah, let's get back to Todd Lewis at Albany, who has more on what Brian Rolapp and that meeting that took place with the players, if anything significant came from that on Tuesday. Todd?
Well, I think you guys were talking about it, and the fact that Brian Rolapp, the CEO, was making sure that the players are informed through this process. The entire field here at the Hero World Challenge met with Brian Rolapp here at Albany. Also speaking in that room, Andy Whites, who's the Chief Marketing Officer for the PGA Tour, and Tiger Woods addressed the field as well. Of course, Tiger is the chair of the Future Competition Committee that Brian Rolapp announced at the Tour Championship, and that's the committee, 9 committee members, 6 of them players, again chaired by Tiger Woods, that is putting together this new schedule, this new format for the PGA Tour, and it looks as if 2027 is when that schedule is going to come out. Now, yesterday in the meeting, there were no formal proposals presented to the players in the field here, but some ideas were bantered around, and the initial drive as to why the PGA Tour is doing this for economic reasons and for better fan engagement. We talked to a couple players today during the Pro-Am to get their take on what was said yesterday, and they feel more informed.
Well, I think I wasn't sure once some of the stuff was announced what exactly it meant. You know, there was some ambiguity to it, and then they were just, I think they did, I thought Brian and with Tiger's help and Andy's help, and I thought they did a good job organizing and being pretty clear about what exactly they're looking to do to help make our product better. And it's not reinventing the wheel, just like fine-tuning things with the help of sponsors and networks for, you know, how to make it better for the fans and get more engagement from a younger audience and stuff like that. So I thought it was, with it, you know, there wasn't a ton of detail yet, but because I know they have a few plans that they're, you know, going to work through over the coming months. But it was definitely something that I think we could all get behind and be excited about.
It's nice to all get in a room and talk about the game we love and talk about the direction it's going and try and figure out what the best way forward is.
Do you think it seems like that a change is imminent? Do you feel like the membership is going to be receptive?
I'm not sure. You know, I sympathize with guys in every situation. Change is hard. It's not fun, but you know, you have to look down the road and try and figure out, you know, what makes our sport the healthiest. And that's what we're trying to do. Everyone's trying to take themselves out of the decision-making process. It's hard to do as people. You know, we've all got our, you know, subjective viewpoints and stuff But in every situation, every decision that you make, there's going to be people that benefit and people that don't benefit, and that's been the hardest part of it.
Well, I think the only problem is when before they're rolled out, people are going to come to conclusions, or there's going to be rumors of stuff. And I think what he was doing was addressing, like, hey, this doesn't mean there's less opportunities or anything like that. In fact, it's just fine-tuning what we have. So I think that's important for the rest of the membership to know. And I think they're going to do a good job communicating that. For players, the biggest thing is just open communication, open dialogue, no hidden secrets. And I think, over the last couple of years, that's been something that's been of emphasis. And I think that players should feel that it's gotten a bit better in the last couple of years than any time before that. So I think that'll be, if anybody has questions, they seem open and willing to tell any member anything that was said last night. It wasn't like it was just, they're going to do a bunch of different gatherings at different tournaments and kind of keep everybody involved and engaged in how this process is going to shape out until hopefully getting to a conclusion that everybody, players, sponsors, fans, networks are all happy with as far as how to improve the product starting in 27.
Brian Harman and Jordan Spieth both have been involved in the governance of the PGA Tour over the years. As a matter of fact, Jordan Spieth, a former PGA Tour Policy Board member. And we talked to some players off camera, too, and they said that it was a very impressive meeting yesterday afternoon. But let's make no mistake, you guys were talking about this in studio. This is kind of the higher end of the players on the PGA Tour. This is an elite field. This doesn't really have the middle class of the PGA Tour, and that's the sell that Bryant Rolapp and the PGA Tour are going to have to make to those players as they continue this process in trying to formulate a new PGA Tour that's going to have somewhere between 20 to 30 events, maybe bigger events, but less playing opportunities for maybe the middle class of the PGA Tour. I did ask Brian Rolapp after the meeting what his take on the meeting was. He said, simply, it was very good.